Hello Internet, my name is the Golden Stalfos, and today we're starting a little analytical retrospective on the Inheritance Cycle, better known as the Eragon series. Hey Mary, thanks for watching. I like what you've done with your hair. Hope you have a great day. And if your name isn't Mary, subscribe. Maybe I'll say your name next time. Alright, so to answer the question on everyone's mind, why am I talking about these books now in 2022? Honestly, I got a new job where I can listen to audiobooks, and so I've been listening to the series on audiobook because every single book is a full work week long. That's not even an exaggeration. Several of them are upwards of 30 hours long. And they're good. I like them. I remember liking them a long time ago. I haven't read them in a while, so I'm listening to them. But listening to them now, I have a very different perspective on things than I did when I first read them fresh out of high school. And as a result, I've had a lot of different thoughts running through my head as I go through these books, and I wanted to put them out into the world. So that's what this is. Now, if I was like a good YouTuber, this would probably be like an hour-long video essay type thing, but these are all edited. All of the audio gets edited by my girlfriend, so like anything over 10 minutes is kind of cruel. So you're just going to have to deal with a series of episodes rather than one really big one. Sorry. I also wanted to lay out right at the start that, as is typically the case with critical analysis, most of what I have to say is some degree of negative. A lot of it is meaningless nitpicks, but some of it matters. It's just that, in general, the stuff that's good isn't really worth talking about. Like, we know what makes something good. It's analyzing the bits where something falls apart or doesn't meet its mark that let us learn and grow and make more interesting things in the future. So I wanted to say at the beginning that I really do like these books, and I'm not just shitting on them for no reason. I'm just talking about things, and many of the things I'm going to talk about are the few negative aspects of the series. If you haven't read it, I absolutely recommend it to anyone, all ages. If you have even the slightest interest in the fantasy genre, you will enjoy this book. Actually, the more deeply you've dug into the fantasy genre, the more you will appreciate the way this book stands out from the genre, or this series rather. One of the things Paolini does across the series is he takes basically every trope that's been canonized into the genre and makes it his own, but he also makes it complete. Right, like he doesn't just throw in dwarves because everyone has dwarves and, oh, all the dwarves are like Gimli because, you know. Now, he has dwarves, right? But he gives them this rich history, and he lets us see like many different dwarf characters. He lets them have politics and religion and all kinds of things going on. And it isn't just a straight rip-off of Tolkien's shit either. It's its own whole new thing. It really feels like Paolini did exactly what I did as a kid and read a bunch of terrible, just garbage, hacked out fantasy novels that were all just half-baked Lord of the Rings fan fiction. And then he took the ideas that he got from all those different books and built something out of the coalescence of those ideas. And it was just so powerful. To me, reading this felt like, finally, someone has fixed all of this genre crap and made it actually work, and we can be done with it. As far as I'm concerned, Tolkien started the fantasy craze, and Paolini finished it. After that, there's no more point in doing something along those lines. You can do fantasy stories, they just have to be so different, right? They have to like go into a completely different category of thing than what we used to get, which was just generic Tolkien ripoffs. And purely because it does such a good job with those tropes, it is almost like a perfect series of books in that regard. So anyway, for this first episode, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the main character, Eragon. Now, overall, Eragon as a character is pretty okay. He's fairly relatable, and, you know, you get a lot of his internal monologue and stuff, and none of it feels unrealistic. A lot of the situations he's put into are obviously unreal because it's a fantasy series, but he always behaves in a way that makes sense and is reasonable. Sometimes he spends a little bit too much time up his butt logicking through things, but people can be like that. And of course, there are times when he should stop and think a little bit more, and he doesn't. But, people can be like that too, especially when they're teenagers. So overall, the presentation of Eragon is good, it's relatable, it's realistic, it's functional. But Eragon is the chosen one, and it's not ever explicitly stated in those terms, but the book never lets you forget that Eragon is the chosen one, even though they never say chosen one. Like, obviously, anyone who got the egg and was the last rider who could fight the big emperor bad guy would be given a similar level of respect and responsibility, and that stuff isn't such a big deal, but there are certain things that I just don't understand why Paolini felt the need to include it. So Eragon spends like 3 months training with Braum as they travel around the countryside. And in that time, he learns how to fight with a sword so good that he becomes Braum's equal. Even though Braum is like more than 100, and he was able to kill some of the baddest dudes in history without his dragon. Like with just his sword. And he didn't even have the special magic sword. He just had regular swords. Like, he beat Morzan and Morzan's dragon, even though Morzan had his own sword, and he did. And like, that guy is like, oh no, you're totally just as good as me. Let's... What the fuck? Like, I get that Eragon is the chosen one, but that doesn't happen after 2 months. Like, that's not how anything works with any skill. Like, you can't just master something that quickly. But the worst part is, from then on, it's canon, right? And anytime he shows up with a sword against anyone, it's suddenly like, oh my god, you're the best swordsman in history, holy crap. Everyone keeps saying it, right? Murtagh tells him how great he is with a sword, and then Arya does, and then the people at the training grounds do, and like everyone just keeps saying it over and over again. And it doesn't stop in the first book, it just keeps going. Every time he is ever in a situation where he has a sword, everyone's like, oh my god, his sword skills are amazing, he's the greatest. And I don't need you to tell us that, Paolini. It doesn't matter. It's not important if everyone thinks he's the hottest shit. That's not relevant. And honestly, it just kind of takes me out of the story because it's so unrealistic for someone to be that good that fast. The same thing kind of happens with the magic later. Like, at first, he's just kind of doing random stuff, but Braum keeps being like, no, you're doing good and you're making great progress. I didn't learn that fast. Which, sure, whatever. But then he like goes and trains with the elves for a while, and when he comes back, everyone's like, holy shit, he's a stronger magician than everyone else. And then the elves send like 12 people to help be his bodyguards, and all of them working together are just barely able to match his ability for some reason. It's fucking weird, okay? It's fucking weird. And again, minor nitpick. I notice it when it comes up, but it doesn't come up every chapter or anything, and it's not that big of a deal. I just think that Eragon has a bit too much chosen one going on. Also, Paolini sometimes uses Eragon to just do cool shit that he wishes he could do. Like, in the 4th book, there's this one section where he does the whole samurai movie thing where he like pulls out his sword and runs at a guy and they slash at the same time and he puts a sword back and then the guy falls over a half a second later. They did that in a book. They like described it in great detail for like a whole paragraph. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Paolini, what are you doing? Like, maybe he just saw that his first book got a movie and he was like, oh, maybe they'll keep going. Maybe I'll put something in for the movie. But I don't know. It was weird. But yeah, overall, Eragon's not a bad character. The books are pretty good. Tune in next episode when I talk about the structure of the series. Fun. All right, I'll see you in the next life. Laters. Hey, Endcard here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Like, seriously though, please subscribe. I have like no subscribers. It's sad. If you want to find me on other social media stuff, you can do that at the Golden Stalfos on basically everything. Links to that are in the description, as well as to some charities I like but am obviously not affiliated with. I also have a Patreon if you like me so much that you want to give me money, though obviously only do that if you have money to burn, and if you do have money to burn, they're the charities I mentioned before. They probably need it more than I do. Mad ups to my girlfriend for doing all the editing for these videos. It's a really big help. Oh, and I occasionally stream on Twitch, so follow me there so you don't miss it. I don't have a formal schedule because when I tried to have a formal schedule, I couldn't keep to it, so oh well. Okay, thanks, bye!